as if trying to shatter it. The wipers couldn't keep up. The headlights reflected off the rain curtain like shards of glass. Tightened his grip on the steering wheel. On the left, a swamp. On the right, thick bushes. No cars in sight, no streetlights. Just him, his truck, and the roar of the old diesel engine struggling through the thick darkness. He had taken a turn off the highway half an hour ago. The GPS froze, no signal. Phone screen turned into a black mirror. Relying on intuition and an old paper map he found in the glove compartment, he navigated through the unknown road. The yellowed, poorly printed map seemed to be made for someone else. Now he was driving on a road that seemed to not exist. The asphalt disappeared beneath him, replaced by a muddy track. Every turn felt like the last. Every stretch of road like a step into nowhere. He was exhausted. Almost 2 days on the road. Coffee long gone, and the last meal eaten at a gas station somewhere near the state border. Time seemed to lose its meaning. Suddenly, something glinted in the darkness. A reflection of light on metal. Maybe a sign. Maybe something else. Slowed down. Left turn. No signpost. Just a narrow dirt road, as if clawed through the forest. And he turned. The road led deeper into the woods. The trees here were unlike any he had seen before. Tall, ominous, with black bark and strange growths resembling faces. Branches scraped against the cabin as if someone wanted to peer inside. After a couple of minutes, the truck stalled. The engine wheezed and died. Silence fell. Suddenly, only raindrops and occasional lightning flashes. Alex cursed, tried to start it again, to no avail. A dim indicator light on the dashboard blinked. Power off. This couldn't be happening. He grabbed a flashlight and stepped out of the cabin. The ground squelched beneath his feet. A thick stench of decay hung in the air. Mosquitoes swarmed around him. Somewhere in the distance, something huge splashed, as if a three-legged beast had crossed the swamp. Then he saw the house, standing in the distance, slightly to the left of the road, almost hidden by the mist. Old, wooden, on stilts. Like in Louisiana movies. A lone window glowed with warm, flickering light. He hesitated. His heart pounded like that of a cornered animal. But there was no choice. Alex stepped into the quagmire. With each step, his boots sank deeper. Through the howling wind, he heard wheezing, as if someone was breathing down his neck. He didn't turn around. He couldn't. Approaching the porch, he felt the floorboards tremble slightly beneath his feet, not from weight, but as if the house itself was breathing. He knocked. Once, twice, no response. Creaked open slowly, inviting him in. Inside, the air smelled of ash, mud, and old wood. And somewhere deep inside the house, the rocking chair creaked. Someone was there. Someone was waiting. The door swung open on its own. No draft, no wind. As if someone inside was expecting him. Alex stood on the threshold, soaked, holding the flashlight. His light was dim, weak, barely piercing the veil. As the mist seeped into the house through the cracks in the walls, the interior a process mist, unsettling. There was no sense of layout, just a vast space of boards, dark beams and corners. No cozy furniture in sight. Only a couple of old chairs, a cobweb-covered dresser, and a rocking chair in the corner. It swayed on its own, effortlessly, rhythmically. Someone was sitting in it. "Who's here?" Alex's voice quivered. My truck stalled. The phone's dead. "I'm just looking for shelter," the gruff voice interrupted. A man emerged from the shadows. He was tall as a teen, but hunched as if carrying a whole swamp on his back. Pale skin, face creased like wood cut by a knife. Gray eyes, murky like mud. In his hands, a kerosene lamp exuding a dim, oily, flickering light. "My name is Ezra," he stated, "and if you're smart, you'll turn around and go back while you still can." Alex swallowed. His boots were still wet, drops falling from his sleeves onto the wooden floor, leaving stains. "I would gladly go, but my truck won't start. And the rain, I can't find my way back in this fog." Ezra stared at him for a long time, as if contemplating. Then he nodded towards the corner of the room. "There's an old couch there. You can spend the night, but you'll leave in the morning. The swamp doesn't welcome strangers." Alex didn't ask questions. He simply walked to the corner, took off his jacket, and laid it on the worn-out couch. He was too tired to argue. The house creaked. Beam echoed with each breath. Somewhere upstairs, a sound was heard, as if someone walked across the attic. "Is that the wind?" he asked, turning his head. Ezra didn't answer. He just sat in the chair, staring into emptiness, as if seeing through the walls into the dust. "This house," Alex began, "feels ancient. It was built by no one." "No one built it," the old man replied, without turning his head. "It grew like moss, like a marsh. It's not a home, it's a door. And you entered." Alex felt a chill run down his spine. "And you? Have you lived here long?" Ezra finally looked at him, his gaze devoid of life. Only a reflection of something old. Like moss reflected in stagnant water. "I don't live. I just don't leave." He extinguished the lamp. The room plunged into semi-darkness. Only the rain on the roof and a rustling in the corner, as if someone was running a finger along the glass. "Sleep, stranger. And in the morning, if there's a dawn, leave. If you hear a call, don't go towards the voice. It's not yours." In Alex's dream, his brother appeared. Younger, the one who died in a car accident 6 years ago. He stood in the swamp, barefoot, in a t-shirt, skin scratched all over, calling out, "Alex, where are you? Please don't leave me again." The voice was just like back then, in that winter, the last time they spoke. Only now it sounded muffled, as if screaming through water. Alex woke up, drenched in cold sweat, his heart pounding in his temples. The darkness was thick, like the swamp itself beyond the wall. He reached for his flashlight, but it flickered. The battery was dying. The faint light revealed the outlines of the room. A beam above his head, a cracked ceiling, an empty... The chair, empty. He slowly sat down. Ezra disappeared. In his place remained only an oil lamp, standing on the floor. It was lit, although no one had lit it. The flame in the lamp did not flicker. It seemed to be watching outside. Someone was calling his name. Alex, definitely. His brother's voice, without a doubt. He stood up, walked to the door. The rain had stopped. Only the swamp groaned and squelched, as if alive. Alex, I'm here. Please. The voice came from behind the house, from the path leading to the marsh, where the fog thickened like soot from a chimney. He stood barefoot, clutching the edge of the door with his fingers. His hand was trembling, and then the lamp behind him went out on its own. Don't go. Ezra's voice, very close. Alex turned sharply. Ezra stood in the corner of the room, almost in the darkness. His eyes shone like an animal's. He didn't move. You knew he died 6 years ago. The voice is not his. The swamp lies. Alex swallowed. It's impossible. It's definitely him. Ezra took a step forward, and the floorboards under his feet did not creak. He seemed to glide. The swamp remembers those you did not save. Pulls from memory everything that rots inside, and it calls. Outside, the voice became tearful. Alex, I'm cold. He closed the door, locked. Only then did he notice his hands trembling. Ezra said nothing more. He just sat back in his chair, stomped his foot on the floor. Once, the floorboards echoed with a creak. Don't open the door at night, he said. And if it opens on its own, then it's too late. Morning did not come. At least it did not look as it should. Light did not flood the room. It seeped in, gray and thick, like smoke from an old fireplace. The fog outside thickened, not dissipating, as if the swamp had decided not to let go of the night. Alex stood up from the couch with a heavy head. It seemed like he hadn't slept, but drowned, slowly, with eyes closed. Ezra was not in the room. The lamp was out. The door was slightly ajar. He slowly walked out onto the porch. The wooden planks creaked under his feet, but the sound was lost in the fog, as if swallowed. And then he heard the voice again. Alex, can you hear me? But now the voice was doubled, as if someone was echoing it with an interval. The first voice was his brother's voice. The second, something else, similar but distorted, as if it were spoken through gills. He approached the edge of the path leading away from the house, where the black quagmire began its reign. Visibility no more than 5 meters. The fog spread over the ground like a living substance. Sometimes it receded, revealing rotten logs, brown patches of soil, and traces. Large, uneven, with webbing. He stopped, leaned closer. The footprints were fresh. The swamp was still oozing from them. Alex, the voice was closer, came from there, from the depths of the mire. And in that density, he saw a silhouette, tall, human-like, but not quite. Arms longer than usual, head tilted sideways like a puppet hanging by a thread. Eyes were glowing faintly, but clearly. Come to me. Alex took a step back. At that moment, something splashed in the water to the left. He turned sharply. Nothing. Only rings on the surface of the swamp, as if someone surfaced or dove back in. Silence. Complete absence of sounds. Not even birds. Not even mosquitoes. As if the whole forest held its breath, watching. Alex took a step back and heard a third voice whispering right next to him. You won't leave if you respond, even once. He turned around and ran. Boots stuck in the mud, roots catching the soles. The house suddenly seemed far away. Too far, as if it had shifted back a good mile. He didn't look back. He knew something was running after him. Didn't hear. Knew. He burst into the house, slammed the door, and stood with his back to it, breathing heavily. The room greeted him with silence. Ezra stood at the window, staring into the mist, as if he knew everything that had just happened. The swamp has awakened, he said, without turning around. It senses you. Alex leaned against the wall, clutching the knife he took from the kitchen, not even remembering how. What was that? It. Whose eyed? Ezra fell silent, then answered. It has no name, or it has too many names. People once lived here. Many. They fed him. Who? The old man finally turned around. There was something in his gaze that Alex couldn't understand. You. Now. You. Morning came suddenly. But it was not dawn, but rather diluted darkness. Alex woke up from the cold, not physical, but something internal, as if his heart breathed frost. He lay on the couch, still wearing his boots, holding the knife in his hand, not even remembering falling asleep. The house was quiet, too quiet. Sat up, looked around. There was no sign of Ezra anywhere. The lamp, as always, was burning on its own, though no one lit it. The flame flickered, as if reacting to Alex's breath. He approached the door, knocked with his heel. The wood responded with a dull hum, as if there was emptiness inside the floor. He pushed the door ajar. Cold air hit his face, and then he froze. On the porch, right up to the door, there were tracks. Big, menacing, as if the imprints in the mud were not from feet, but from webbed paws with claws. The tracks led from the swamp, and didn't lead. They ended right at the threshold, as if what came was still here, somewhere nearby. Or inside. Alex recoiled, slamming the door shut. His heart was pounding like a caged animal. He turned around again. Empty. The room was the same furniture, lamp, but now he felt a gaze, as if someone was sitting right above him, or behind the wall, or under the floor. In the kitchen, he found a piece of mirror, framed, dusty, broken. When he looked into it, for a moment it seemed like there was another figure in the reflection behind him. He turned sharply. No one. But the lamp flickered slightly brighter. Ezra appeared unexpectedly, just came out from behind the stove. As if he was summoned. It came, said Alex, right to the door. Tracks. The old man silently approached, looking at him as if listening not with words, but with his skin. He nodded. You have started to hear. Soon, you will start to see. Then, to call back. What does it want? Ezra traced his finger on the fogged window glass, leaving a pattern, a spiral, leading inward. He didn't answer. You are here. Not the first time, he said softly. By the swamp. Long memory. In the evening, Alex tried to start the truck. Unsuccessfully. Everything was dead, even the battery. He returned to the house and noticed the footprints on the porch had disappeared. As if the house had swallowed them. Like the light, the smell, and the warmth. And when he looked up at the window on the second floor, he saw a face, pale, eyeless, with long slits instead of a mouth. Face disappeared as soon as he blinked. He wanted to scream, but light was already emanating from the lamp inside, and Ezra was rocking in the chair, as if he knew everything Alex had just seen. Don't leave the door open, he said without looking, even if you hear someone calling your name. Why? Because soon you'll start calling yourself. The rain had been falling for 3 days, or maybe 4. Alex no longer knew. Time here did not pass, it smoldered. Like a decaying tree, he stopped believing that the day would ever become clear. The sky was gray, forever. The air was damp, dense, like in the lungs of a drowning person. Even the tea brewed on the stove smelled musty. Ezra disappeared again. Sometimes he simply disappeared, as if dissolving into the walls. Sometimes Alex thought the old man was part of the house, or part of the swamp. Left alone, he decided to go upstairs. The staircase creaked like an old throat. The steps bent, as if they were not meant for living feet. Upstairs, there were 3 doors. 2 were closed. The third was slightly ajar. Behind it was a room, someone's. Once. The room turned out to be a bedroom. Dried wreath of swamp flowers hung on a nail. Dust covered everything, except one thing, a writing desk. On it lay a diary, small, with a pinkish-gray cover and twisted wire along the edges. Paper had turned black with damp, but the handwriting remained feminine, neat. Alex sat down and began to read. The pages smelled of swamp. June 10th. We came here with Dad for the weekend. He wants to get away from the city, but I hate this place. Everything here is wet and dead. You can't even hear the birds. June 11th. I heard Mom's voice. She died 2 years ago. I'm sure it was her voice. It was calling me from the direction of the swamp. Dad says it's stress, but he heard something too last night. June 13th. Dad left at night, said someone was calling. He tried to stop him, but he just walked into the mist. And that was it. Silence. He didn't come back. June 15th. I don't know if it's day or night now. The swamp is breathing. I hear it whispering under the floor. I'm afraid to fall asleep. June 16th. I lit a lamp, but its flame turned black. It reflected not me in the mirror, not my face. June 17th. If someone is reading this, Don't answer the voice, even if it calls you by name. Especially if it calls you by name. The swamp mimics you. It makes a copy. First, it calls. Then it learns to speak like you, breathe like you, and then it comes. You'll see yourself. But it's no longer you. Alex looked away from the page. The room grew darker. Although the lamp was still burning, he heard footsteps behind the door. Quiet, like a child's. Barefoot, he stood up, approached the door, yanked it open. The corridor was empty, only the staircase leading down. And for a moment it seemed like someone had descended before him, a bit early. On, with a quick step, he walked a little faster. He closed the diary and took it with him. He didn't understand why. It just felt right. As he descended downstairs, Ezra was already sitting in the armchair, rocking back and forth, not saying a word. Alex placed the diary on the table. Did you know about her? The old man nodded. Marlene. What happened to her? Long pause. Then the answer came. She became a part. A part of what? Ezra looked at him. The house. The swamp. Us. You. Alex clenched his fists. Don't become a part of this. I'll leave. The old man leaned forward. Then it will follow you. He sat on the porch, wrapped in an old coat, permeated with mold. The wind rustled the algae at the base of the house. The house creaked, as always, as if someone was sleeping inside and tossing and turning from side to side. Since he read Marlene's diary, Alex had not been able to sleep. He was afraid. Ezra didn't ask questions. He just nodded. Sometimes he just stared towards the swamp as if he was looking in a mirror, as if he belonged there. At first, Alex heard a rustling, then a gurgling, somewhere on the edge of the marsh, in the fog that no longer dissipated in any wind. And then it spoke again, but it wasn't his brother's voice, nor his mother's. It was his own voice. Alex. Hey, can you hear me? I'm here. He froze. He knew that tone. He knew how it sounded when he talked on the radio, scolded behind the wheel, or whispered to himself. It was him. He stood up, took a step towards the edge of the veranda. His boot got stuck in the mud, but he didn't notice. Who are you? He shouted into the fog. What do you want? There was no reply. Just a pause. And then the voice. Again. Alex, you stayed here. Why aren't you going home? He stepped down. The marsh echoed beneath his feet. And again the voice. Everything's fine. Look at me. He stepped closer. And then he saw, in the fog, between rotting tree stumps, stood a silhouette. His silhouette. Exactly. Boots, jacket, pose, even how he held his hand on his side, like a habit since childhood. The silhouette took a step forward. Alex took a step back. What are you? The shadow didn't answer, just smile. The smile was too wide, unnatural, as if the skin was stretched over bones. And then the voice spoke again, Now from inside Alex's head, you're tired of being yourself. You want to leave. I can stay in your place. You won't lose anything. You're already starting to rot. Alex covered his ears, closed his eyes, and suddenly, silence. He opened them. No one. Just the swamp. And his own footsteps leading into the mire. He returned to the house. His hands were trembling. Ezra was sitting in the armchair, as usual. It made a copy, right? Alex asked. Of me? The old man nodded. You're not alone anymore. What if it enters the house? Ezra slowly turned his head. Your house is not afraid of reflections. But what about me? You, yes. You're alive. For now. That night, Alex slept sitting by the door, with a knife in his hands. He knew it was calling to exchange, for him to go out and it to come in, and that one day he might wake up and no longer be himself. Don't burn the lamp at night, Ezra said. Light beckons, and if the light beckons, it will come. But that night, Alex decided differently. He sat alone, complete darkness. The house groaned. The darkness inside it was like a living entity. It wasn't emptiness she was witnessing. He felt himself becoming less and less like himself with each passing minute. His fingers trembled. Sweat dripped down his back, and then he lit the lamp. The flame erupted, brightly, unexpectedly, too brightly, as if the lamp had been waiting for this moment for years. The flame flickered past. And then the house answered. The sound, like heavy footsteps, echoed from all sides at once, as if someone was walking on the ceiling, on the walls, from beneath the floor, and outside. The mist by the walls began to glow, not from the lamp, but with its own black, dull light. Alex rushed to the door and froze. The entire porch was covered in footprints. They circled around as if someone had been pacing back and forth all night. And then the door began to knock slowly. 3 knocks. 2 knocks. Pause. 1. He stepped back. Alex, open up. The voice was his own. You were waiting for me. I'm freezing. You. He clenched the knife, squeezing until it hurt. The lamp crackled. The knocking intensified. Now it was coming from the windows, from the walls. The house trembled, as if every plank was trying to break free from the nail. He rushed to the window and saw they were outside. Several of them. 1, an exact copy of him. Another, with Marlene's face. A third, short, with Ezra's eyes, but a body. Swollen, with mud instead of skin. They didn't walk. They waited until he let the light in, until he accepted. He turned around and was startled by the lamp. The flame inside it turned black. It no longer illuminated. It obscured, and then the walls whispered, You have already opened up. You have already chosen. You are not yourself. You are us. Alex rushed to the lamp, wanting to extinguish it, but the glass became burningly cold. His fingers stuck. The flame stared at him, like an eye opened by itself. A silhouette stepped out of the darkness. He was slow, solid, muddy, but inside him something glowed. As if a copy of Alex was burning inside him, not with light, but with desire. Alex, leave everything behind. Let me be you. And then the lamp went out. Everything disappeared. Silhouettes. Whispers. Darkness swallowed everything. As if the scene had closed. Only Ezra was sitting in the chair again. You lit it, he said. Alex fell to his knees. He couldn't speak. Now it knows what you look like. In the light, it knows your silhouette. Only the name remains, Alex whispered with difficulty. What now? Ezra slowly turned his head. Now you either leave or stay forever. There is no third option. The house was breathing. Didn't understand it at first. First, he thought it was a draft, then an illusion caused by fatigue. But no, it was breathing. The walls rose and fell. Slowly, damply, like the chest of an old man with only one night left. With each inhale, something drew near. With each exhale, something hid around the corner. Alex walked down the corridor, which he knew for sure should lead to the kitchen. But around the corner, there was another staircase going up, which wasn't there before. He froze, ascended. Upstairs, the same corridor, but mirrored. The doors were on the other side. The floor, sticky. The walls breathed more heavily. A whisper came from one door. Alex, you are already inside. Do not resist. He flung the door open. The room was empty. Only a mirror, standing at full height, in an old frame covered with moss. He approached. He stood in front of the mirror, but with empty eyes, and the lips of the reflection moved, though he himself remained silent. You are no longer the one who came. You are a new shell. The house remembered you. Now you are part of its breath. He struck the mirror. It rang, but did not crack. It only slightly bulged, as if made of leather. You ran. The corridors were changing. One door led back to Marlene's bedroom, another to the nursery. Toys stared at him with empty eyes. The third, back downstairs, but not to the first floor, to a basement he had never seen. He descended. There, at the bottom, was a living corridor. The walls were covered in slime. The floor was soft. And at the end, a lamp, the same one. And next to it, a chair, but not with Ezra. Tim, with his double. The copy stared, unblinking, smiling. Long will you run from yourself? The swamp is already inside. All that's left is to close the door. And then the house inhaled. Long, painful inhale. And the walls narrowed. The ceiling descended. Dust. spiral. The doors closed on their own. The windows disappeared. Alex fell to the floor. The house began to constrict. Whispers from all sides. He's already here. Leave the shell. Become part of. Become the house. And then he screamed at the top of his lungs. Not out of fear, out of desperation. And the house froze for a moment. Then exhaled. Woke up at the entrance. Outside. Morning. Light. Weak, but real. The house's door closed. No traces. The air stagnant, but real silence. He stood up. The truck was still parked on the side, as if it hadn't disappeared anywhere. He slowly approached it, opened the door, the key in place. He inserted it into the ignition. The starter whined, and the engine started. He couldn't believe it. Just sat and drove without looking back. Not once. And when he was already 20 miles away from the swamp, he glanced in the rear view mirror and for a moment saw someone sitting in the back seat. Turned around. Empty. But the seat upholstery still bore damp traces, like from feet covered in moss. He drove in silence, without the radio, without thoughts. The forest along the highway's edge returned to normal. Green. Sunny. But Alex no longer felt the difference. He was no longer the one who entered. 2 hours later, he pulled into a gas station. He bought coffee. Too hot. And when he handed over the money, the cashier stared at his hands for a long time. You have dirt under your nails. I'm sorry, Alex hoarsely replied. The swamp. The cashier froze. What swamp? Alex said nothing, just walked out. In the mirror on the wall, as he passed by, he briefly didn't recognize his reflection. The eyes were slightly lighter than they should be. He arrived in town. Parked in front of the motel, and for the first time in 3 days, he got out of the car truly feeling light, as if a weight had lifted. Then he felt water trickling down his leg. He looked down. Swamp goo slowly oozed from the pants from somewhere below. Dark green with bubbles. Warm. He stepped back, opened the truck's door, and realized that the mats inside were wet, and even the steering wheel, to the touch, felt like wood grown in water. He ran to the bathroom, turned on the faucet, started washing his hands, the skin under his nails. The night was dark, with tiny strands of algae slipping through his fingers. He wiped them away and gazed into the mirror, and there it was again. That gaze, as if someone else was peering out from the depths of his pupils. Someone calm. Someone unafraid to return. He stepped into the shower, undressed, and then he saw it. In the center of his chest, right above his heart, a small round mole. It wasn't there before, and it was pulsating, just like the one on the copy. The marsh doppelganger he saw outside his house. Alex sat on the edge of the bed, whispering over and over, I left. I left. I left. Silence. Then a knock. on the door. Alone. He approached, opened it. No one. Just an envelope at his feet. Written on it, "You have taken what doesn't belong to you." Inside was a photograph. His face. Smiling outside his house. And in the background, the marsh, moaning and shifting. Alex got into the car. The engine purred perfectly. He drove 2 miles and turned onto the same road. Without any signs. Through the woods. Again. The swamp. Again. The fog. Again. The breathing house. He got out, unhurried, and as he stepped onto the porch, the door opened by itself, without a creak, without a greeting. Inside, a chair, a lamp, and an old man. Only now the old man's face bore his features. Younger, livelier, and Alex. Alex took a seat in the chair, and the house breathed. 3 weeks later, the road to the marsh was closed off. The house disappeared from satellite images, simply gone. An empty space. But in some photos, under clear sunlight, the silhouette of a figure by the water was visible.